Hi everybody, Ryan here. Just a little disclaimer before we begin the episode. While we were recording, we found that there had been some dropouts in Ben's Audacity. Not exactly sure where or when that began or how. Might have been some involuntary process running in the background of his PC while we were recording. At any rate, I tried to look through the edit to see if there was anything that I could do, any place where I could pinpoint where it drops out, and I couldn't really find anything, at least not where I'm sure I looked, so if there is any dropout during the audio, I apologize, and hopefully next week we won't have to deal with that. We both have very crappy computers, and as I say, this is a DIY video game podcast, so any kind of low-budget issues that end up happening are kind of there in the premise of the show, but thank you very much for understanding. Hopefully you enjoy the episode without any hitch.
I'm Ben.
I'm Ryan. Hi. Welcome to GamePunx. This is a kind of an impromptu episode, but let's go in on it because I'm really hyped to record.
Yeah.
We did a bonus round a couple of days ago, and unfortunately we lost the one half of the recording.
I Control-Z'd when I should have Control-S'd.
Oh well, it happens to the best of us. It's not even our first lost episode.
No,
so.
Well, I mean, it technically is our first lost episode.
I guess it's the first
because the other episode exists
we
and it is on YouTube, but it is hidden from the public eye until
true.
We deem it worthy.
I don't know if that'll ever happen. It's like unlistenable. My audio cuts out midway through.
I feel like for the meme it'll be funny just because it's really good up until a halfway point where Ryan's mic increasingly becomes possessed by some demonic presence in the old apartment that I lived in.
Oh yeah, and the mic goes to shit in like a gradual process. Yeah. It's quite something. But yeah, I mean, I had a week this week. It was pretty busy.
I also had a week this week. Guess who came to my house today?
Oh,
the Exterminator.
Hell yeah!
So I should be bedbug free. He's coming back in 20 days to do another treatment for the ARRGH, which is weird because it feels like it should be the other way around.
Yeah, honestly.
But I mean, at the same time, if there's still bedbugs, they'll just make more eggs. Well, I think they have to feed the eggs, or I don't know. You know what? I don't. Let's not.
Well,
discuss
the eggs
people.
do have the eggs. The eggs have to be like, I guess, incubated. I don't know how insects work. Bedbugs are gross.
They are.
It's like,
should I say
what
this?
If a little...
You know what? I'll do it.
You can.
It's going to be gross, so grossness warning. But when I flipped them up and was like killing like the 9 of them,
yeah,
I technically killed 10, but one of them I guess was super fresh and just exploded with my blood.
No.
Yeah, like it boiled and just pleh. And I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that. That was inside me.
Fucking gross, I gotta say. I was like eaten alive by insects this week, and so my legs and arms are all covered in like, you know, those, not those big mosquitoes, but those little suckers.
Yeah, the little ones that like
those little ones. They've been eating me up and down like nobody's freaking business, and I'm like covered in bug bites right now. I'm super itchy. I've been itching my arms and legs and my ankles especially. It's like whenever I sit outside and I'm not wearing shoes or something like that, they go for my ankles.
Oh yeah,
and now my ankles are covered in bug bites.
I'm the same way.
So
I have I guess super sugary blood or something. I don't know what it is. But mosquitoes, bugs, they just go straight for me. Like to the point where like
they like my taste.
My partner would sleep over sometimes, right? And like not a scratch, not a single bite, but I would be like eaten, and I'm like, bro.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I have the worst luck with bugs. Well, there we go. Look at that. You can't be punk unless you're getting bitten by bugs all the time. It's the rule. If you're not pockmarked, you're not punk.
Facts.
But yeah, I had a pretty interesting week this week. I didn't play too much games, but I did beat Mega Man ZX. So I've been working my way through the Zero ZX collection, as I was talking about last week, and I picked up ZX and I got all the way through it in like 2 days. But I really do love that game. It's a pretty special little game. As like previously stated in our Mega Man episode of Touch Generation, it's kind of like Metroidvania Mega Man. The whole idea with ZX is that you have different abilities that you're collecting throughout the game, that like you beat each of the 4 first bosses and you get new abilities, and these abilities open up new kind of areas for you to explore. And each of these additional new areas has like different environmental kind of conditions that certain Mega Man like abilities are better suited for. So it's not just like your abilities are better suited to taking out a boss like they are in the traditional games, but they help you with the environment traversal, which makes the Metroidvania-ness of the game make sense, because you're gating off areas of this large open 2D
until
world
you beat the boss.
until you beat bosses, and these bosses are giving you new abilities to work your way through. So it is very Metroid.
Yeah, until you get the virus suit upgrades and shit.
Exactly.
Like, I think the first game I ever remember doing that was Fusion, and I thought it was like the coolest shit, because it's not blocking it off per se, right? Oh god, no, sheesh. Sorry, my Google went off. It's not blocking you off per se, right? It's just, you can totally go, but you'll die.
Exactly.
But you can go.
It gates your progression based on like how you're able to traverse the environment.
Yeah.
And that's what changes, as opposed to, so although the game is difficult as a Mega Man game, some enemies are just punishingly hard. There are some boss fights in this game that gave me a great amount of difficulty. But yeah, the special thing about Mega Man ZX, at least for me, is the way that it kind of, I don't know, capitalizes on my enjoyment of the Zero games by allowing me to play effectively as Zero and the antagonists of the Zero games, the Guardians, the Neo Arcadia Guardians.
Yeah.
Because the different Mega Man models that you acquire throughout the game, models H, L, F, and P, are all based on the Mega Man 03 characters and Mega Man 02 characters of Harpooya, Leviathan, Fafnir, and Phantom. And like, they're just super fun to play as. Like, they're very, very different. Each character has like a completely different set of abilities that like really change the way that you play as them. So Harpooya is like an aerial character who has wind and electric powers, but Model H allows you to fly. It gives you 2 sword slashes, but it doesn't really give you a charge attack, which is really interesting. Like, they give you kind of this like electric ball that you can fire out, but it's not that significant an ability. Harpooya's biggest boon really comes from the ability to use that Mega Man model to kind of skip dash in the air and like kind of get to higher places more easily. So it's a pretty useful suit, and it's quick. It's got the quickest attacks, I think, no, it's not quicker than Model P. Oh yeah, Model P is Phantom's abilities. Phantom is a ninja.
Okay, that makes
sense. So his main attack is just kind of shooting a bunch of kunai knives really, really fast. If you just keep pressing B and B and B, or whatever your attack button is, mine is Y actually. Keep pressing your attack over and over and over again. You're just firing an unending stream of kunai, which is really, really cool. And then your charge attack is a big laser shuriken, which is just awesome. Just a big energy shuriken that you shoot out.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then each of them also give you like a different kind of thing that you can do on the touch screen.
How many of these games are there?
There's 2 ZX games.
ZX, 2, okay.
Yeah, there's 2. ZX and ZX Advent,
I can do that
which is a direct
a weekend.
Sequel. Absolutely, you
Excellent. Because I think I'm going to pick those up.
You could beat the Zero ZX collection in maybe a week.
Yeah.
If you go through them like a game to 2 games a day.
Right, so in about 3 weeks, I'll talk about.
Yeah, you'd be able to, for sure.
I think I'll do that, because the more you're talking about it, the more, and like I've been craving the kind of retro feel. Like I've been craving Mega Man. I've also been craving Castlevania, which is why I picked up Curse of the Blood Moon 2 a couple of weeks ago.
Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2.
Oh god, yeah. I always call it Curse of the Blood Moon.
I mean, it sounds appropriate.
It does.
How is Curse of the Moon 2? It's developed by the same people who developed Mega Man ZX and Zero. I have not touched it yet,
because my main problem was I never finished the first one. I only made it about halfway.
Okay.
And then the plan was to stream it. And then I realized, for some reason, capturing it is super hard and like impossible on my computer. I don't know what's going on. I haven't found a fix, and I've been Googling, and I haven't really found anything. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to play it on my own time. So I started the first one over again 3 days ago, something like that. I haven't made it very far. I made it to the second boss. Because I just played a bit, and then I was like, it is 2 a.m. It is sleep time. I have to work tomorrow. So,
well, if there was ever a group to make a throwback Castlevania, I'm not surprised it was Inti, because they're the ones who did the ZX games. Yep, same dev team.
As Mighty Number 9.
Same just kind of gameplay. Well, we don't talk about that.
But
that was also a concept joint.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, it was, but it's just I like bringing that up whenever people creates. I'm like, remember Mighty Number 9?
It's crazy to think that Inti made Mighty Number 9, but also made Gunvolt, which is like a very good Mega Man Zero game. It's actually Gunvolt is a great taster if you've played not Mighty Gunvolt, but Azure Striker Gunvolt, and you've never played the Mega Man Zero games or ZX games, you kind of have an idea of what you're getting into, because those games are very, very similar. They're like an intentional throwback to the gameplay of Mega Man Zero. So if you've ever played Gunvolt, you have an idea of what you're getting into with Zero and ZX. But yeah, ZX is really fun. I forgot entirely that ZX didn't have English voice acting until playing it. Somehow I misremembered that it did. It has Japanese voices, but ZX Advent, I've started playing it since beating ZX, and that has English voice acting, and I think I mentioned it in the episode, but it is bad.
Yeah.
Like, it is quite bad.
I think we talked about it a little.
I could only describe it as, like, atonal.
Ooh.
Like, really
just
atonal.
Like,
some of the voices are okay, but some of them are, like, mostly the main characters, like Gray and Ash. Their voices are like, oh my god, Ash is maybe one of the most obnoxious voices for a female character in any video game, because it's
even
like,
more so
her
than
personality
like
is
Amy Rose? Because
her personality is she's supposed to be kind of tomboyish and spunky, but the delivery is so like, it sounds like it's being given by somebody who English is like their second language.
Okay, which is very possible.
It sounds like Shenmue voice acting.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a little rough.
Do you know a Chinese?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, you've got some nerve talking to me like that. Like,
oh boy,
there's a lot of weird enunciation on emphasis on syllables.
That actually, a weird thing about that though is sometimes it'll be actually English native voice actors, and the voice director is the one who's like, no, you have to enunciate it like this because they want the Japanese tones to hit, right? So like, do it like this. So the voice actor just kind of has to do it. And that's why it misses a lot.
There's like no lip sync in the game because there's not a lot of cutscenes. Yeah. So it's like just voice acting. The voice for Model A, who's the main biometal power that you have in ZX Advent, is fucking annoying. It is so fucking annoying because it's just loud, what's the voice that I can't grating stand? And like it's so childish and annoying. It's an obnoxious.
Okay, is it like Teddy?
Obnoxious voice.
Teddy or Monokuma? Because those that's the type of voice that like
Teddy is pretty bad.
Monokuma, I get he's supposed to be the antagonist and you're supposed to hate him, and the voice just kind of works for that, right? But Teddy being on your team is like, he's just.
There's a really awkward moment at the beginning of ZX Advent when you first transform into Mega Man Model A, and there's like a whole Henshin Super Sentai Kamen Rider ass transformation scene that's really great. But right before you do it, like in the tense scene that's supposed to be you like leading up to you embracing the power of Model A and transforming, Model A is like, if you can hear me, yell Mega Merge at the top of your lungs. And I'm just like, there's like a voice crack in the actor's performance. It's like Mega Merge, and it's really, really funny.
That's why.
And every time I hear, like, I remember, it was so memorably bad that I remembered exactly how it sounded from when I was last playing this game at like age
Okay, so what you're saying is I need to stream this game so when that moment comes up, I can lose my shit laughing, and it can be a Twitch clip.
Funny. Mega Merge!
It's like
the voice crack is hilarious. It's so good.
Shocker! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth! Or the fucking...
Yeah, there is some pretty... There's definitely some of that acting in the game. There's also
I should have been
all
the
the different bosses you fight have voices. That, you know what? It reminds me of the Mega Man X4 voice acting.
Oh, God.
Yeah, like the, what am I fighting for type stuff.
It's
yeah, it's really quite bad. But yeah, Mega Man ZX is a very fun game. And Advent, I always liked Advent a little better, and I do find myself enjoying it, because it feels like the story that gets rolling in ZX finally kind of hits its stride in Advent, even though the characters change and there's like a 10-year time skip.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the story is a lot more significant. It takes like a much more prominent role this time around. Whereas the story in ZX is a lot about kind of it's less plot heavy and it's more about character drama and like fight for your master or your friend who died, like your mentor who passed away. Fight for him. Like it's one of those kinds of stories.
Yeah.
Fight for the memory of those those you've lost who you loved. Versus like ZX Advent being very plot heavy, and it's kind of like you're participating in the game of destiny so that you can become the king of the new world who will be a Mega Man. And everybody's tossing around all this jargon about Mega Man and Mega Merging and Biometal and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, I like this. This is like a dumb Kamen Rider thing, and it's super up my alley. So yeah, I really have been enjoying revisiting those games. It's just been like a nostalgia trip through and through. I also, like I said, I've been watching some stuff. I started rewatching Trailer Park Boys because it's one of my all-time favorite series, but only up to a certain point.
Yeah, it's really good. And then
I've really been enjoying my time with it so far. I picked it up a couple weeks ago because my partner Dex started like reblogging a lot of Trailer Park Boys memes on Tumblr.
Oh my god,
and
Tumblr
just
still
seeing
exists?
them all like started a yeah.
I gotta get mine back up.
My friend circle, we're still on Tumblr.
I gotta get mine back up. I need to know what's going on.
It's not as good as Twitter. Twitter's better now. But like Twitter is the new Tumblr. But all of the memes you get on Tumblr of Trailer Park Boys shit, you can't really go wrong. So I started rewatching it because I love Trailer Park Boys. I grew up watching it, which is a funny thing to say, but it was on when I was a little kid. And I grew up watching it. I used to come home every day from school and watch it because it would be on every day on Showcase. So I'd watch Trailer Park. I'd watch Trailer Park Boys like because it's a Showcase original.
For the American listeners, Showcase is
basically Showtime.
Yeah, it's Showtime, but
it's like Showtime but Canadian and cheaper.
Yeah.
And it gets some stuff from American networks that's syndicated over
here.
Yeah,
like it was like our Spike TV package. Kind of. I find
it's like a mix of Spike TV and
Showtime.
Just
because we didn't get a Canadian Spike.
No, exactly. Like you could get Spike in Canada, but only if you had premium cable. I just had basic cable, so I got Showcase as part of my basic cable package.
Yeah, but what I mean is we didn't have a Canadian version of Spike. We got Spike, but we didn't get
we didn't get Spoke. Spike Vanilla. Spoke. Yeah. But Showcase is a really interesting channel. There's actually a lot of really good transgressive TV dramas on that channel. But Trailer Park Boys is amongst my favorite. It's like one of the first original series they ever did. And if you're not familiar with it, though, I bet a lot of people are now because it's on Netflix. Yeah, it got like a huge revival on Netflix, and there's an animated show, and like half the cast is left, but it's still going, and it's kind of this shambling corpse of its former self.
The animated show. I saw the picture. I went, oh, and then I moved on.
Yeah, but if you're not familiar with Trailer Park Boys, it's a Canadian mockumentary series. It's a crime mockumentary set in Nova Scotia in a trailer park in Dartmouth. And it's about a group of guys who are like petty criminals just kind of trying to make ends meet by getting themselves into kind of get-rich-quick schemes and a bunch of silly shit like that in order to just kind of make sure that they don't have to live in poverty anymore. But they're always kind of being thwarted, and every season begins with them getting out of jail, and every season ends with them going back to jail. Yep. Which is really quite funny.
It's filmed.
So
it's
always like
kind
a
of like a
series
mockumentary
of each
too.
season. it's filmed like a mockumentary with like the camera crew directly interacting with them in the early seasons. Camera crew kind of becomes less significant later on, but in the first 4 seasons, the mockumentary part is pretty important because there's be a lot of scenes where characters be like, "Could you stop filming me, please?"
The best ones are the one
Stuff
where
like that.
I think there's one where I don't remember his name, the handsome one.
Oh, Julian.
Yeah, Julian's just like crying, and he's like, "Just stop." Just stop.
Please
stop.
turn the cameras off. Like,
worst case Ontario.
Yeah, it's really quite funny. It's great because these characters are, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 of them, are all pretty stupid, but they each have a different kind of degrees of stupidity to them. Like Julian is always so arrogant, and his schemes are always so like complicated.
Short-sighted.
He likes to think of himself. Yeah. He thinks of himself as kind of like a Tony Montana of the trailer park, where he thinks that he can get away with anything if he's clever or slick about it enough. Whereas his 2 friends, Ricky and Bubbles, are like
Bubbles is
Bubbles is a character who kind of like comes into the series early on, but isn't a major character until about the latter half of season 2 into season 3.
When the writers realize that people love him.
Yeah, that people love him, exactly. He's kind of the breakout character for the show, but he's really funny. He's wear these huge Coke bottle glasses, and he lives in like a garden shed that's been turned into a house.
Yeah, with like 8 billion cats.
With a bunch of cats. Yeah, he takes care of all the stray cats in the trailer park and feeds them. And he likes he's a little nerd, and he loves like bumper cars, and he loves like his little go-kart, and he loves Rush, and like he's like a very lovable, charming character.
The Sam Squatch.
Yeah, he mispronounces the word Sasquatch. There's an entire... Now, this is something that I've been working on. I'm planning on maybe even writing about it. But season 4 of Trailer Park Boys is like comfort food TV for me, and might be one of the like most incredibly well-written pieces of comedy ever like put on television.
Yeah, you tweeted this recently, and I was like, I need to go back, I think.
Season 4 specifically of Trailer Park Boys is like the greatest example to me of like setup and payoff in comedy, because the whole season is like they're all kind of riding high. They've all kind of like built up like their wealth to this point, and for the first time they haven't squandered it, and it seems like everything's going good for them, but everything's like going to come crashing down by the end of it. And just the progression from the beginning of the season to the end is so funny and so chaotic and so satisfying. It's really something. Trailer Park Boys also has like low-key some of the best, most positive queer representation for the time, because the 2 primary antagonists of the series, Randy and Leahy, are in an explicitly sexual relationship with each other.
Yeah.
And it's a big moment in season 3 when they come out to everybody. And then like nobody makes anything of it. They like tell Julian when he finds out in season 1 to keep it secret, and he does. He never uses it against them or leverages it against them as blackmail.
Because that's fucked up.
Like it's because that would be fucked up. And like these guys, like, you know, they're dumb and they're criminals, but they have like a sense of morals.
Yeah.
In that they don't try to harm anybody directly in the trailer park unless it's Leahy and Randy, because Leahy and Randy are always up in their shit. And like they just, you know, they do a lot of petty, harmless crimes, like just robbery and shit like that, or like stealing barbecues, scratching the serial numbers off of them and reselling them, stuff like that. But it's a pretty funny show, and revisiting it has been really comforting. It's been nostalgic for me to just kind of go through this show with like the maturity of an adult. This is the first time in like 2 or 3 years that I've really went and deep dove into it again. But I've been having a really good time. So Trailer Park Boys is great. And I guess the one last thing that I watched was went over to my friend's house the other night, and she was really excited to show me this movie that Pete Davidson was in called The King of Staten Island. And I'd heard about it because it's a Judd Apatow movie, and I mean, as somebody who's interested in movies, of course I know about Judd Apatow. I've watched a lot of his stuff. I can't really say I'm a huge fan of Judd Apatow. So he started off kind of as the guy who created Freaks and Geeks. Him and Paul Feig were like responsible for that. And I like Paul Feig more than I like Judd Apatow, I think, because Paul Feig's comedy stylings are a little closer to me. But Apatow he went on to make movies like Knocked Up, He made Funny People, which is a movie I actually really like, which is about Adam Sandler playing a down-and-out stand-up comedian who is kind of like crashing down slowly after he is given a cancer diagnosis. And that's a pretty interesting movie about dealing with the trauma of like a terminal illness and kind of coming to terms with your mortality as an adult who has done shitty things and has kind of like, I don't know, left a lot of people in his life with hurt feelings. Mm-hmm. So that's a really interesting movie, and it's really mature comedy. It's also like 3 hours long. It's one of the longest comedies I've ever watched. But it's quite good. It's a little... he does a lot of these great comedy dramas, though.
Yeah.
But recently, like as of the last couple of years, he's been like making a lot of kind of navel-gazing, very like unrelatable kind of shows or movies too. Like he made a movie called Trainwreck with what's her name, Amy Schumer.
Oh boy,
I didn't really care for that. I don't like Amy Schumer at all.
Yeah, I think
that movie was just like thoroughly unpleasant
and like just dropped off. And like I walked in the room,
thoroughly unpleasant.
Waited
movie.
For a couple of jokes and went, eh.
And then he made a movie called This Is 40 a couple years ago too that I watched, which is it's with Paul Rudd and his wife Leslie Mann. Yeah. But it's kind of like Judd Apatow making a movie about Judd Apatow because the characters in the family are like all his family except for Paul Rudd, who just plays him basically. But yeah, I feel like the last couple of movies Apatow has made have been very like, they're all about rich white people who live in California in mansions and are just kind of unrelatable to me and therefore boring and kind of unfunny and very self-important. King of Staten Island was not that at all. Like, this is maybe the most grounded and human a Judd Apatow movie has ever felt for me. Uh-huh. So, if you know anything about Pete Davidson, which I'm sure you know a lot because he's quite open, he's like one of the youngest ever castmates on SNL. Mm-hmm. He's our age. And he has been on since I think 2016. Yeah. But he's been pretty big in that time. Like, he's made a lot of headlines. He was briefly engaged to Ariana Grande, which kind of fizzled out, burned out quite publicly. They had like a public whirlwind romance, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, it happens. He's tatted. He's all tatted up. He has Crohn's disease, which means that he has like his stomach lining is all fucked up, basically. And it makes him look kind of gaunt. He's tall. He's like 6'4".
Jesus.
He's kind of gangly looking. He looks kind of sick all the time. But he suffers. he suffers pretty openly from borderline personality disorder, and he's spoken about it a lot, very candidly, which I've appreciated. He's a pretty interesting dude. He had a stand-up special a couple of months ago that came out on Netflix that I watched, and I honestly didn't think it was that good. But he was in a movie recently that I really liked, where now I can't quite remember what this movie was called. I'm sorry to say, and I'm not going to bother myself to look it up. But it was a movie in which he played the older ex-boyfriend of this kid's sister, and the kid idolizes this guy. But as he grows up, he comes to realize that this guy, who's played by Pete Davidson, who he thinks is so cool, is kind of a fucking burnout and a loser. Yeah. And I don't remember for the life of me what the movie was called, but I really liked it, and Davidson was very good in it. And I was kind of interested to see what King of Staten Island would be like. And I was even more intrigued when I learned that a lot of the stuff in King of Staten Island is semi-autobiographical. Something I didn't know about Pete Davidson until watching this movie is that his father died in 9/11. His father was a fireman in 9/11 and died.
Oh, damn.
When the plane hit the second tower. And that is a pretty horrific thing to happen to a kid that young. I think he was 8 years old when his father passed away.
Formative.
Yeah. I think he was even younger. He might have even been like 7. But that, I think, definitely did something to him. And that's kind of a lot about what King of Staten Island is about. It's about Pete effectively playing himself, dealing with like the long-term effects of like trauma to that degree, and how when mental illness manifests and you have this trauma, it becomes hard for you to adjust and to escape from your bad habits and to escape from like this kind of path that society has put out for you now that you are fatherless and mentally ill. So it's a pretty human film. Yeah, he plays this guy named Scott. He's kind of a burnout. He lives with his mom, and while his sister is going off to college, he is staying at home because he wants to be a tattoo artist, and he's trying to work on getting an apprenticeship at this tattoo place, which is owned by Machine Gun Kelly, in a very weird cameo. But yeah, he's working on his tattoo work, and he wants to kind of get into that, but he can't get a foothold, and he's just kind of sitting around blazing it with his buddies and like just kind of spending the day like doing nothing, slacking.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, while he's out at the beach kind of practicing his tattoos on his buddies, a little kid comes up, this like 9-year-old kid, and he goes like, I want a tattoo. And I don't know if you know anything about borderline personality disorder.
Oh, bud.
But
I do.
It does make you very impulsive and makes you make impulsive decisions. And so Scott, who as a character is clearly suffering with BPD, even though it's never outright stated in the film, it's clear just knowing what about Pete.
Whoa.
You know,
sorry, you cut out real quick. What did you say?
Sorry. Knowing like about Pete, what his
yes.
deal is. It's pretty obvious that that's what Scott has. Yeah, he makes the impulsive decision to start tattooing this child who has asked for a tattoo of the Punisher. The kid runs away immediately because, of course, a 9-year-old kid can't handle the pain of getting a tattoo.
That is the most believable tattoo a 9-year-old would get.
Exactly. He's like, I want the Punisher. But yeah, he sticks the needle in him for 2 seconds. The kid runs away, but he does a line down his arm. So the kid's father comes up to Pete's house and knocks on the door and is just like, your son tried to fucking tattoo my son. He's a fucking idiot. I don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to pay for this. And as he's yelling at Pete Davidson's character's mom, the mom and him kind of get into a spat, and he goes, well, where's your husband at? And she's like, well, he's dead. And it turns out that the kid's father is also a firefighter. And when he hears that his, that this person's spouse has died, he goes, oh, well, shit. And comes back later to apologize and takes the mom out. And suddenly this guy whose kid, Pete Davidson has tattooed, is now dating his mom. And now it's not just about Pete dealing with the trauma of losing your father at a young age and it kind of turning you into a burnout and making you kind of deal head on with a pretty horrible mental illness. But this guy who's got it out for you is now dating your mom and is trying to act like he gives a shit about you, but is slowly worming his way into your mom's life and pushing you out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty interesting kind of play of all these different, very special emotions, and like I don't know, just a lot about it felt real. Parts of it almost felt like a Safdie Brothers movie, like Good Time or even Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
In that there's like this tension and danger to it, and that you can see Pete's character is spiraling. And he has these moments where he's breaking down. And I mean, as somebody who doesn't have BPD but has a partner who has BPD and has a very close friend who is suffering from BPD, this is like maybe the most accurate depiction of BPD I've ever seen on film.
I'm gonna have to watch that with my partner, because
it's really good.
Seems like, yeah.
Like the breaking down, the apologizing, the catastrophizing, the irrational spur of the moment decisions, it's just so real. It felt so real and so human.
Yeah. And
it's just in a way that like an Apatow movie has not felt in a very long time.
I mean, it's cool too, because BPD is probably one of the most under and misrepresented mental problems that people actually have. Like in media and even just reading about BPD, it's very misconstrued and misleading a lot of the time.
I'd say it's definitely misleading because a lot of it infantilizes the person dealing with BPD, while at the same time, like, it takes away their agency, because people with BPD, regardless of what you've been told, they have the agency to regulate their decisions. It's just sometimes they are not able to, and it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be held responsible for their behavior. And that's what I like about this movie too, is it makes the character responsible for his behavior, while at the same time acknowledging that regardless of whether or not he's responsible for these decisions that he makes, it's still not entirely voluntary that he makes these volatile and kind of self-destructive decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So it strikes that nice balance where it's like you want an even-handed representation of BPD that allows the person with it to maintain and retain their agency, while at the same time, like, you know, not making them this milksop sad sack of a victim who self-victimizes all the time and has no control over their behavior.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's one of the main things too, is like, oh, BPD people have no idea, like, they're just always out of control and have no idea how to digest anything. It's like, no, they just
that could be further from the truth.
Differently, and
yeah,
it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, exactly. But it's quite the movie. I really would recommend people watch it just to kind of see what I'm talking about. But it's also a good comedy. It's funny. The character drama is solid, and the ending is nice. It's not what I necessarily call a feel-good movie, but the ending is kind of this nice coda that leaves you with the idea that Scott is gonna, like, he's gonna be okay. He's, you know, he has some direction.
Yeah.
In the end, and that's nice. So I really, really did enjoy The King of Staten Island. It was it exceeded my expectations. So yeah, that was a really good time. I had a great time with that movie. What about you? What did you do this week, Ben?
Oh God, what did I do this week? My partner's amazing friend lent us her Switch. So we played.
That's very special.
We played Donkey Kong Country, which is a game I also played. I think I told you. I think I talked about it last week's week's episode.
I played with friend
Anthony.
Of the show, Night of the Living Toys.
Yeah. And we beat that, but I'm playing it through it again with my partner, and that's going fun. It's a good game. It holds up in terms of old SNES platformers from Rare.
It's one of the rare games that I would consider myself to be a relative fan of.
Yeah.
Even though, despite what a lot of people say, I actually think it kind of does look fucking hideous.
It does not hold up visually.
Even for the time, looked hideous. Like, the pre-rendered sprites are kind of ugly to me.
I don't know if I can agree with that. Because that would... It's the same tech they used for Killer Instinct, right? And I think Killer Instinct looks great. I think all the Donkey Kong Country games look pretty good. I don't think they hold up as well. I think they looked way better at the time.
I guess maybe because I didn't grow up with them, I've never been I understand just from a game history standpoint, and then I have to say, like, just from a historical standpoint, I completely respect the decision to do the game that way.
I think what is happening more is that you do have the retrospect of being able to be like, oh, this is what it looked like compared to other games. And you realize now that still pixel art holds up way stronger than trying to make 3D shit.
That pre-rendered sprites don't look as good. They don't. Like, Yoshi's Island
at the time
came out similarly in around the time that some of those games were coming out, and Yoshi's Island still
it just holds up better. It does. I will admit they hold up way better, but for the time it was nuts to see this kind of 3D looking thing on a SNES of all things, right? Like,
yeah, of course. The fact that the SNES can render that is very impressive.
But I will admit it does not hold up as well. Especially like especially the fact that most of DKC1 just is reused assets after like the first world. They just kind of recycle everything.
I do love DKC 2. That's my preferred Donkey Kong Country
that's
game.
Anthony's preferred Donkey Kong Country game too, and I would have to disagree. I like 2 a lot. Because we played a bit of DKC 2 last Saturday, me and Anthony, and I did not like it. I don't know if I was like if it's because I didn't grow up with it or whatever, but I was like, can we play something else? Or maybe the fact that like I was just kind of burnt out on I'm not very good at platformers. I'm gonna say that right now. Platformers as a general thing, especially side-scrolling platformers. Mega Man I'm okay at, but it's less. I'm not good at collectathon platformers. Like the Mario games, I'm not very good at. The ones where you have to like bounce on the heads where you don't really have a weapon. I kind of lose my like
your composure.
Yeah, my composure, and I panic a lot more. Which is funny from
they can be very nerve-wracking
from someone
games.
who plays like Dark Souls and has fun and like plays fighting games and shit.
That's true.
But like the platforming makes me lose my composure. Even for The Messenger, which is an amazing game that came out of Montreal or Quebec. I don't know if it was Montreal specifically, but I know it came out of Quebec. Which is a Ninja Gaiden kind of
yeah, it's a Ninja Gaiden like
even that one, like, a very good game. I had an amazing time with it. It's a platformer. There's some levels in there that I was just like, ugh. And I mean, you watch the Mega Man 11 stream, like,
yeah, I did.
I lose my footing on some platforms, especially moving ones.
Platformers have always been one of my preferred genres, just because I don't know, I enjoy how they play.
Yeah, no.
But the Donkey Kong Country games are not among my favorite platformers, I'll be honest.
No, they
my favorite platformers are mostly like Genesis era stuff. Like I really like Rystar, that's one of my favorite ones. Rystar and Super Mario Brothers 3 obviously is a classic, but I do love that game and I know it back to front.
Yeah.
Which helps. Like over the quarantine, actually, I never spoke about it on the show, I don't think, but I played and beat Super Mario Brothers 3, just kind of as I needed a comfort zone kind of game to fall into, and I like beat it in a week. But I know that game like the back of my hand, and I feel like a good platformer is memorable like that. Yoshi's Island is another one of my favorites. I love that game, and I'm also currently kind of making my way through it slowly, but. I do like a good platformer, but the Donkey Kong Country games, they're not among my favorite. I've always found them a little awkward and slippery.
Yeah, that's the main thing with the DKCs. One has a nostalgic place for me, right? So I'm just kind of like, yeah.
But I've always liked 2, like I said. I something about 2, maybe it's just because I really like the idea of just playing mostly as Diddy Kong.
Yeah.
I really like Diddy Kong. He's cute. He's a little monkey.
Yeah,
he's got a hat.
Even in the first
got
one,
a hat. I like it.
Even in the first one, he's very fun to play, and he has the Terry Bogard thing where he wins and tosses the cap. I mean, he catches his at least, but
yeah. But he's a cutie. I like Diddy Kong. He's so cute. So I do like that game, and I like that it's called Diddy's Kong Quest.
Yeah.
Which is a very stupid Kong pun, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, leave it to Rare to make bad puns.
Well, that's what they're good
at.
It is. And leave it to Rare to make mediocre games.
Yeah.
Not a Rare Defender podcast.
No, unless it's KI.
we will criticize the pillar that is Rare.
I'll die on KI Hill, but
maybe KI is good, and I like Perfect Dark.
I'll fight Perfect Dark, and I'll fight Banjo 1. Which I know, I know we don't agree on.
I won't stand up for Banjo.
I'll fight Banjo 1, but I won't die on the hill. Like I'll get a skate, like a little cut, and I'll be like, I'm gonna go. I need to bandage this.
Banjo is one of those games that I should like but don't, which is what makes me so mad about it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it seems like it's the exact kind of platformer I would enjoy because I do like a good collectathon, but it's just never. Nope.
I'm gonna say
whenever
it.
I played, I'm just like, nope.
I'm gonna say it right here, right now. The first couple levels are what everyone remembers of Banjo because those are the good ones, and the later game falls the fuck apart. Like, it's just not fun after a bit. I remember even playing through it with Anthony, and Anthony has super huge nostalgia goggles for this game, so he won't admit it, but I remember we were doing Click Clock Wood, and at some point we were just... I hate that goddamn level. We both got so salty that we were like, we need to play something different. This is not fun anymore. We're just pissed.
That game
and then we had to go back to it the next week, and we also hit that point. We almost hit that point again, but ended up getting enough stars, and we were like, fuck it, just fuck 100%. We're gonna go kill Grunty. We're gonna beat the game. That's it. We never have to touch this game again. He won't admit that we had a bad time on Click Clock Wood. At And then we tried Banjo-Tooie, and I was just kind of like, There
are a lot of people that swear by Tooie as like the best platformer of all time. And I have to ask them, like, firstly, have you played Super Mario Bros. 3? Secondly, why? Why Tooie of all games? I don't get it. I don't see it. Every time I play it, I get endlessly frustrated. And there's so many damn jiggies in that game. So many freaking jiggies.
Yeah.
It's too many jiggies. Too many goddamn jiggies. But I will not. We're not the Rare Defender podcast. We're the GamePunx podcast, and there's nothing more punk than subverting people's expectations. And it's most people's expectation that people like Rare. Well, I'm not a huge Rare fan, so there we go.
I'm okay with Rare, but I'm not gonna die on any hill except for Killer Instinct. I'll die on Killer Instinct.
Ki is very good. I like Ki, but I also just like a good fighting game. Yeah. So I can't deny, even if I'm not a huge Rare fan, I can't deny Ki. One of the finest arcade fighters ever.
Maybe
made.
if I keep adding Microsoft enough, they'll make Ki 2 or 4, technically 4. But let's not get into semantics. Maybe. Other than that...
But yeah, so you played DKC.
Yeah, I played DKC. I got a little hands-on with... what's that game called? You know, the one... with the turnips.
I know the one. With the turnips?
And the dog lady who's drinking the... I think it's Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon.
The turnip.
New Horizons.
The turnips and the dog lady.
Or something. New Leaf.
You mean Animal Crossing.
KK Ryder.
KK Ryder. Well, he is KK Ryder. There is a there is Go KK Ryder.
So I got to finally touch New Horizons.
And how you enjoying it?
So far, it's so good. A very chill game. It is an Animal Crossing game, chill. So it. I mean, I don't really have much to say other than like, yeah, good job, Nintendo. Besides the fact that I'm on an already started island, and I'm seeming to have trouble finding the materials to make an axe, which seems to be like a key point in the game.
Yeah, once you get the ingredient, you get you can buy the recipes from the store, right?
Yeah. I already have the recipes. Yeah. I can't get any stone.
What you need is a stone axe to harvest stone.
Yeah. See, that's the thing.
The interesting thing about Animal Crossing New Horizons for me is that instead of starting you off kind of with everything done for you, you just kind of have to get to that point that you would typically start off at in another Animal Crossing game. And the whole journey of coming from nothing to going to the island I have now that's so developed and so like homey and feels like a regular Animal Crossing town, it was very fulfilling. It was a super fulfilling experience, and when you get the ability to finally terraform your island and do all these kind of impressive things like build up and build down, it's super exciting. Like, it feels very rewarding, I would say. It's very rewarding. So, I do really enjoy that game. It's maybe one of the finest experiences I've had with the Switch since I bought it. It was so worth it.
Yeah, no, I mean...
especially because of quarantine.
Just playing it made me want to get the Switch. Because, God, it's just so good. It's super fun. The only thing I will say is, like, moving furniture around in houses feels a little off now. Like, you have to be more aligned, but they have the decorative option
That's
now.
The thing, you don't even need to do that.
I'm just
you can just use the Happy Home Designer.
Yeah, but I'm so used to
tools.
the New Leaf thing, right, where you just kind of grab it and you move it, and like the character grabs it immediately. But now it's like it's more precise where you grab.
Yeah, the game is a little more precise with the dimensions of objects.
Yeah,
which is interesting though, because you can fill the space up pretty.
Yeah,
tight
you can even jump in like to corners, kind of, right? Like if two objects are touching, but there's still space at the back, you just kind of do a little hop over like you would in real life, which is like criticism I've had for video games forever, which they just kind of fixed. And like, I mean, in terms of criticism for a video game, I think being like, it feels a little weird when I move things around my house is a very minor one. Like,
it's a pretty minor criticism.
That's the only one
especially
I have.
considering it's not even the only option you have for moving furniture in your house to begin with. But I'm glad that you're enjoying that. I'm glad that you got to have some proper time with it. Because that is quite a game.
It is. Other than that, what else did I touch on the Switch? Mario Odyssey a bit. It's good. It's a Mario game. It's Mario 64 but better.
Yeah, pretty much.
Shout out real quick to the GameCube Was Cool podcast, who had the Mario games polls. I don't remember who ended up winning. I think
Mario 64,
which is ridiculous because
because firstly, Galaxy exists.
Well, yeah, because Galaxy and Odyssey exist.
Yeah, those are both very.
To be fair, I didn't play much of Galaxy. I know it's very good, but I didn't play much of it, so I voted for 64 against that one.
Galaxy is one of the most inventive Mario games, and by God, if it doesn't have the best soundtrack.
But the fact that 64 got beat out by Odyssey, or 64,
that seems almost kind of like
64 beat out Odyssey is ridiculous, and that is purely due to nostalgia goggles from people who haven't even touched.
64 is a very good game, but it is aged.
Yeah, it's just like every time I tell someone who defends the Conquer game with their life that they are wrong, and then they just die on that hill, and I'm like, no, but when's the last time you played it? And they're like, oh, like 20 years ago. I'm like, yeah, I played it a year ago. I'm telling you, it's not good. It's just not fun.
It really is not.
You like it because you brought it home from Blockbuster and they said shit.
And there's a man made of poo-poo.
Yeah, that's the only thing anyone remembers.
Which, admittedly, is very funny.
Do you remember that you have to get to the top of the tower to get all the bees to make the big-breasted flower? No, you don't.
Oh, God.
You know why you don't? Because that fucking mission sucked. It's hard.
And just like the juvenile, like, South Park tier humor is so obnoxious.
And the platforming's just bad. Like, apart from the writing and the juvenile humor, which at worst, if it was just juvenile humor, I'd be like, fine, it's a good game. If the platforming was half as good as Banjo-Kazooie, I'd be like, fine, you can say it's an okay game. I will agree that it's an okay game. I can look past the juvenile humor and just be like, okay, you can look at that with nostalgia goggles and be like, haha, poo-poo, whatever.
Yeah, poo-poo,
it's like watching a Cinemassacre video. But...
yes. That's a good way of putting it, actually. But revisiting it is like
bad. It just doesn't hold up. The platforming feels horrible. Nothing is really like I couldn't even figure out what I was supposed to do after a certain point, right? Like there's the bees that you have to go get at the top of the tower for the flower, and that's where I got stuck at. Because I was like...
I often wonder, like, how much better of a game it would have been if they had just stuck with the Conker's 12 Tails.
Yeah, it probably would have been a way better game.
Doing Bad Fur Day? I think so, too.
But...
I think Bad Fur Day was kind of like it was a flash-in-the-pan decision, I think, to kind of go and do this edgy platformer. And I don't know, I respect the audacity and ambition. Yeah,
and for the time, it was really...
To do that, but... It has aged very poorly because of that. It's N64 games. They didn't age so good.
And once again, we're back to talking about Rare.
Would you believe that the N64 actually wasn't as successful as many people think it was?
It was a good console.
Almost kind of killed Nintendo's good faith with a lot of other developers.
Yeah, I have
because
very
some
fond
people
memories.
did not want to develop on it.
I have very fond memories of it. But that's because it's the only console I had.
There we go. And the PS1 likewise had a lot better variety.
A lot longer games.
In terms of just who was making games for it. What kind of games were being made for
fighting
it.
Games on the N64 were
Have
garbage.
you ever tried to look for a fighting game or RPG on the N64?
Yeah. Tekken's... You know what plays
Mortal Kombat Trilogy is
what plays really well on a slacked analog stick that barely holds its own anymore and is just kind of flopping around. Not fighting games, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. You want to know what would have played good on there but never got to? An RPG?
Yeah.
I think Quest 64 and Ogre Battle 64 are like the only two notable RPGs, and Ogre Battle's not even really an RPG. It's like an RTS.
Yeah.
But like freaking Quest 64 is the only RPG on the whole thing. Are you shitting me?
Because you can't cram 100 hours into a little cartridge.
You know what you also can't do? Get a game for Square on that console, because Square were like, "Fuck
we're
you,
out.
Nintendo."
You fucked us.
And then they were gonna make
SNES.
They were gonna make Mother 3 for the N64, but that became a GBA game in the end. But wow, what a time that was for Nintendo. We talk a little bit about it actually in the first episode of Touch Generation.
Yeah.
But yeah, the N64 and like the late 90s into the early aughts was like a really, really rough time for Nintendo as a company. They were not doing good. That's kind of why the DS is such an interesting thing, because it's like came off the tail of like two of like the least successful Nintendo consoles of all time, and just became like one of the best selling consoles ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy, and it was like a weird flash, like kind of I say flash in the pan twice in this episode.
Yeah,
weird kind of flash in the pan idea to make a third pillar of a games console, and it ended up being one of Nintendo's most popular and consistently selling devices for like almost 2 decades, which is kind of nuts. But not a great time for Nintendo, and there's some interesting games on the N64, but I don't know. The N64 is an interesting console that I think has been...
We'll have a bonus round about the N64, I think.
Yeah,
because it's a mixed bag.
Seen in a bit more higher esteem by people our age than maybe it deserves. Yeah. Just because a couple of really great revolutionary games came out on it, like Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Yeah, I was about to say, even the Zelda games that came out...
Well, I will still live and die by Majora's Mask, but Ocarina of Time, there are better versions of that game now.
Yeah,
Ocarina
there's a better
3D
version of Majora's Mask.
Is the best version of that game. Majora's Mask 3D is not as good as regular Majora's
I find
Mask.
It's better.
I find the controls are better, but I mean, you could achieve the same success in terms of good control by just getting like a Hori pad.
Yeah,
for the N64,
I guess.
But I think that Ocarina of Time 3D is a much better game than Ocarina of Time.
Just because it's refining. I'll agree that one.
Grezzo are like a great team.
I'll agree
they
that
did
one.
a good job porting that. But yeah, like there's some good games on that. I mean, even Mario 64. I mean, it's revolutionary. It is literally like the blueprint for all 3D.
Yeah, it's not to dismiss
almost all 3D games.
The influence that game had. I'm just saying, everyone who voted Mario 64 versus Odyssey on the GameCube Was Cool podcast poll is wrong, because Odyssey is clearly a much better game.
Odyssey is a much better game.
You should.
Odyssey has a better variety in terms of level design,
gameplay, music, in terms of control, in every aspect.
But of course, it's like hindsight is 2020. Of course, it's better.
Yeah.
It's newer. Like it. They've had the time to... And it's a game that's also an intentional throwback to Mario 64, in that the worlds are like very kind of weird and esoteric.
You have secret paintings that you can jump into.
Worlds, yeah, and in the way that some of those worlds in Mario 64 don't even feel like Mario worlds at times.
Yeah, I mean,
there's shit in Odyssey that's like that too.
I'm gonna bring that back to Banjo-Kazooie also, where you're remembering the first couple of levels and the fun times you had with your friends just replaying those levels. The end game is not that good. Mario 64 falls apart in the end game. The levels get
some of those final levels, like Rainbow Ride,
just in terms of level design and aesthetically, they are not that good.
They're not up to snuff with some of the earlier ones.
You end up getting these pitch black backgrounds with like blue platforms and like fire, right?
Yeah. Or like one of my least favorite worlds in that is the
water one, not the early water one, but the water one where
the fire level.
The lava one, right?
Yeah, like hot.
Even the desert one is not
dry
fun.
desert. Yeah, I don't really love that. I don't love that. The desert in Mario Odyssey though. Wow, what a great desert world.
Good design.
It's so dense. It's so dense and
which
full
I was
of
surprised by,
cool.
because usually when I get into a desert level, and again to harken back onto Banjo, the Banjo desert level, I was kind of like, this is lackluster and just kind of meh.
It feels deserted.
Yeah, so in Odyssey, when I got to the desert level, I was like, oh no, it's the second level. Oh, it's not that bad.
No, it's so vibrant and like it feels very alive.
It has
a lot of the thing that Odyssey does better than any Mario game is make these like weird places feel pretty lived in a way that like even Sunshine, which takes place in like a weird, like Sunshine is a weird game. I love that game. And I think Isle Delfino is really cool and weird. That's also another game that falls apart towards the end game. I think the end game of Mario Sunshine sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I only ever played the first couple. I don't even like. I played a bit of the
Mario
Sunshine
is set in like an explicitly inhabited place, and even that place feels more constructed and like artificial than some of like the really cool locales in Mario Odyssey, like the town that you go to in Mario Odyssey in the desert. That's all kind of Day of the Dead looking.
It's
wow,
amazing.
What a great town. It feels so vibrant and alive, and like the people living there feel like they live there.
To come back to Kingdom Hearts 3, when you're in Twilight Town, I remember talking about this on the Kingdom Hearts 3 episode. Actually, I was just like, it's amazing because Twilight Town actually feels inhabited now. Like, it's not just the NPCs standing around where they're like, I'll give you $20 if you can do a kickflip over the stairs or knock this barrel up this hill.
Twilight Town is such like a good example of like how you can make a beautifully realized, cool fictional world feel so artificial just because you didn't put enough NPCs.
Yeah.
That town
or because the console
feels like it's a ghost town.
It's weird.
Oh, and then, man, it's kind of unsettling and haunting in a cool way.
Which is kind of the point
when
of
you
Twilight
realize it's just
Town
kind of
at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Too? But that's the thing. In 3, when you get to Twilight Town in 3, you're just like, holy shit, there's so many people here. And you hear like ongoing conversations just as you're walking by. It's amazing. And like, again, that comes back to hardware, right? Like they probably just couldn't do it, but that's why
exactly.
This
you can't
new
render
generation
that many people on screen at once and have
so
them do
amazing.
things.
And also why games don't necessarily have to look hyper realistic all the time. They can be super stylized and still feel like a real world that people are living in. And like that's the main goal.
I think a stylized world will charm me far more easily than anything that's going for a semi-realistic or fully.
Kingdom Hearts
aesthetic. 3
in 10 years might be a little underwhelming, but it'll still be a stylized world and look really good. Death Stranding might look a little rough around the edges in a couple years, you know? Like
I think Death Stranding now looks pretty good, but I don't see in 10 years it.
Because that's the thing. I mean, like, there's so many, like, just looking back at all these games that tried to be hyper realistic, and then looking back like 5-10 years later, you're like, ooh. Even just Until Dawn. I remember when that game first came out, I was like, holy shit, these are real people. And now me and Anthony tried playing it, and it looks so bad. We were like, let's play something else. God. I can't even make it through.
Whereas if you go back to playing Kingdom Hearts 2 on the PS2,
it holds up.
Some of those character designs and cutscenes, wow, they look very good.
And it's even
they look like a nice cartoon.
Resident Evil remake that came out on the GameCube.
A game that I have played very recently.
Me too.
And I can say fully with confidence, still looks like incredible.
Full stream is on my archive. I did the whole game. Yeah. It looks great.
What a good looking game.
I think at least once an episode I go, God damn, this game fucking looks good. It holds up.
It does hold up. Another game that I think holds up very nicely from like the early GameCube era is what's it called? Wind Waker.
Yeah.
Which has a hyper cartoony aesthetic that
got shit on.
Legendarily people hated.
Which was ridiculous to me because I saw that as a child and I was like, this is fucking amazing. This looks great.
I think to this day, in my opinion, it is still the best looking Zelda.
I think it's the best looking GameCube game.
Yeah, there's a pretty strong argument to be made in favor of that. That's for sure. I think it's between that and Resi Remake 1.
Yeah,
I probably the two best looking games on the GameCube, and not just because they push that hardware to its limits, which they do, but also because like they're two sides of the same coin, in that they're both pushing the hardware to its limits to render very complicated and complex like things all at once, but it's the aesthetic that's completely different.
Yeah.
And they both kind of succeed in that. Resident Evil has the advantage of cloaking a lot of its environments in darkness and shadow. So making some of those places, like, just playing with the lighting to make these things lit perfectly.
Yep.
Versus Wind Waker, which is just, like, gorgeous cel-shaded graphics that look like you're playing through a cartoon. And it's so beautiful. I cannot wait to replay Wind Waker.
You can argue that Wind Waker walked so that Guilty Gear Strive could fly a rocket to the moon in terms of how good that game looks.
Even the Beautiful Joe games, which have a similar cel-shaded aesthetic to Wind Waker, as much as I love them... even. Yeah,
Okami looked great, doesn't hold up as strong as Wind Waker does.
Exactly.
Especially with HD remake.
Beautiful Joe, Okami, kind of rough. Rough. But a game that does look very good, though, that has aged perfectly well, in my opinion, is Baten Kaitos Eternal Wings in the Lost Ocean. Because it's the GameCube with pre-rendered graphics, like we see with Resi 1, just excels at pre-rendered shit. It looks beautiful. And Baten Kaitos is no different. Like, it's a very good-looking game and looks incredible for the time. But that's a Monolith Soft game, so I'm not surprised. Because they have made some fucking very good RPGs, as you've seen me rave about Xenoblade Chronicles in the last couple of episodes. But I'm pretty much of the opinion at this point that Monolith Soft cannot make a bad game. Even though I do think Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii has aged kind of like milk visually. It's kind of actually a horrifically ugly game at times, but is still very good gameplay and story-wise. That's why the one on the Switch is so good, because it looks excellent.
You know what else holds up really good all the time? Most pixel art games.
Oh, I mean, we said that before, but like games with pixel art hold up. Will always.
If you want to make sure your game looks good in 30 years, make it pixel art. Yeah. I feel like
complex, big, cartoony sprites will always look better than a beautifully rendered 3D.
Cuphead will never look
because it will never look as uncanny.
Cuphead will never
look bad. Will never look bad. It will always look good, and that's something. It's pretty amazing to be able to say that about a game. Like a lot of those old beautiful Capcom fighters still look good today. Street Fighter Alpha 3. That game still looks great.
Third Strike is amazing.
Third Strike looks incredible.
CVS 2? CVS 1. CVS 1 specifically. 2's pretty strong too, but CVS 1, in terms of stage, I want to say, stage design, CVS 1, I think is probably one of the strongest stage designs in fighting games ever. I'm going to try to get us back on track a little. But yeah.
We had a big discussion there of games aging.
Indeed.
I guess I'm gonna have to put that in the byline when I put the episode.
Nah, you probably, but whatever. Hello.
Oh, that was a good conversation.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome
the
back.
Structure is more of a suggestion than anything.
Yeah. But I guess do we have any news you want to talk about?
It was Odyssey.
Oh, you have more games. Oh yeah, Odyssey.
And then I'm going to talk real quick. Did I talk last week about Fall Guys, or did I forget to talk about Fall Guys?
You did not talk about it. Let's talk about Fall Guys. So, I want to hear all about Fall Guys because I've never played it, but I've seen people
play the new hotness. The new.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's almost like the new Fortnite.
It's a
new big game to stream.
It's real big. And there's a reason for that. It's very good. It's just straight up fun. It's a really good time killer. I still haven't won any crowns, which is a disappointment, but I haven't been playing intensively. It's more of my time passing game where it's like, all right, I have about an hour to kill. I don't want to get too intensive into like a fighting game, or I don't want to accidentally start a Yakuza quest line that's like an hour long that I won't be able to save in the middle of. So I'm like, Fall Guys. We'll throw Fall Guys on. I'll play a bit, and I'll go to work or go to sleep or whatever it is. And I've never had a bad time playing Fall Guys. It's just a very good, I guess it's a battle royale competition game. Kind of.
I guess you would call it like a platformer race battle royale.
Yeah, a bit of like Wipeout and NXT, I think it was called.
Mm-hmm.
Ninja
If you've ever played
ish
American Ninja Warrior,
that type of like it's an obstacle course racing battle royale.
An obstacle course racing platformer battle royale,
and it holds up. It's good. It holds up. I meant
it's got a very cute aesthetic. Everything kind of looks like a little vinyl.
It's
toy.
like a jelly bean. They look. If Funko Pops look like
they do look like candy.
Yeah, if Funko Pops looked like that, I would get Funko Pops, but they don't.
They always look like little kid robots.
Oh god, the Funko Pop Fall Guy is going to be a horrible monster.
Please don't curse my mind with the Funko Pop Fall Guy.
Do you remember Funko Pop
That's
Kirby?
Horrible. Oh no, thank you.
I'm gonna bring it up as often as possible. I think I brought it up actually before.
Horrible thing.
Or maybe it was in a stream, but oh
evil.
god, how do you fuck that up?
Really awful. I don't know how you fuck Kirby up. They literally instruct you in the first Kirby game
how to draw Kirby. It's a ball with black dots. That's literally what a Funko Pop is. It's just a ball with black dots, and you fucked it up.
God.
Funko Pop.
I couldn't believe
we hate Funko Pop on this podcast.
I have 4 of them, and I will never buy more.
I have one of them. It wasn't bought. It came in a Loot Crate, and I unsubscribed from Loot Crate.
What was the one that you
got? I got the Reaper Funko Pop.
Well, that one looks pretty good.
It's okay. So, but it's still a Funko Pop, and I was like, no, I don't want any more surprises like this.
I've got the Iron Sheik from WWE because he's kind of an inside joke between me and my friends, but also I think he was a cool heel wrestler. I've got Ed from Cowboy Bebop because I like Ed, and you can't get a good Ed figure to save your life. I have Nosferatu from Nosferatu, like Count Orlok. That's pretty good. And I have the Tick from the 2017 Tick series, which is the only piece of merchandise produced for this series.
It lends itself well for Funko Pop's Tick, at least.
And he's literally the only piece of merchandise released for that show, and that show is one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Yeah, one of the most
and the most slept on and poorly treated, underappreciated pieces of thing out there. So good, so funny, so cute, and so heartfelt. Completely and utterly shat on by Amazon and shat out, and just never give it a third season. Fuck
yeah.
But fuck Amazon.
So yeah, Fall Guys is good. I'm gonna keep playing it. I will update probably weekly on Fall Guys because I think it will be in my repertoire for a long bit. Because it's very enjoyable. It's tight. It feels tight. It's
just such a pleasant
game.
It
is, and like the only problem I really have with it right now is that I haven't won. So at Fall Guys Twitter,
that's a good problem
if you
have.
If you could hook me up with like a crown or two, I'd really appreciate it. Other than that, Yakuza's still going, but I'm gonna do a whole speech on that when I actually beat it for Yakuza 0. For right now, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, it's still going. Other than that, what else did I play? Nothing. That was basically my week. With a side touch of talking about how Mario 64 doesn't hold up, so hopefully we get a slew of publicity from the haters.
Any publicity, will be good. No publicity is bad publicity in the video game podcast game. But was there any news we wanted to talk about this week?
News-wise, there's the bonus round we're doing about the FGC discourse.
I feel like that will be our news for this week.
Yeah.
If you want to tune in on Wednesday, our news segment is going to be just a whole bonus round on everything that's been happening in the FGC since kind of the middle of quarantine, and since kind of BLM started. Yeah. Started up again since the George Floyd protests began.
Yeah.
Because there has been some shit, and it's worth talking about. And I feel like if we're gonna talk about it, we have to do it.
It's gonna be a good I'd say an hour and a half to 2 hours of
maybe
even more.
Just
depending
of pretty hard
yeah
talk.
It's gonna be a heavy episode,
so yeah, in order to not kind of down the tone of a regular GamePunx, we're just gonna put that as a bonus round.
Yeah, and for other news for this week, I can't really think of anything that was too noteworthy.
Well, you know what, I guess I could say there's a couple of DC games in the pipeline now. So
Key
DC
features.
fandom,
Batman is dead.
Yeah, DC Fandom happened over this weekend, and Fandom was DC's big kind of Comic-Con style event for the announcement of all their new projects they've got going on. They've got
you could call it DC3.
Yeah, it is pretty much DCE3. But apart from the great Robert Pattinson Batman trailer, which looked fucking awesome.
And shut everyone the hell up like I told them to do months ago.
Mm-hmm. That man's a great actor, and if you don't agree, you've never watched him in a movie. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You've only seen Twilight, and I say you are sad. You're a sad person that's the only Robert Pattinson movie you've seen. But, yeah, that trailer looked very interesting, and it kind of makes me very intrigued to see where that is going. Black Adam got like a trailer full of concept art that looked very cool, and as somebody who's a big fan of that character, I want to see what they do with it, because the Justice Society are going to be in it. But it seems like maybe the biggest pieces of non-movie news to come out were the announcement of 2 new DC video games. So the first one is called Gotham Knights, and
which is the one that piqued my interest most.
At first I was wondering whether or not it took place in the Arkham universe. It does not, even though it kind of seems like it would come after the tale of Arkham Knight, but it does not. It is a standalone DC game that is a 4-player co-op RPG, kind of in the vein of, I don't know, like X-Men Legends or Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Mm-hmm. Kind of like that, except with less of a playable roster and with more of a focus on open worlds as opposed to constructed kind of like singular hallway style levels. But it looks fun. It looks like an interesting cooperative game, and you get to play as Nightwing, Batgirl, Robin, and Red Hood.
Oh, jeez.
What's going on?
Big technical difficulties. You cut out for like 30 seconds on my end.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm good now. That was
it
strange. One of us is dropping. Anyway, it's fine.
It might be me. My internet seems a little wonky right now.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's going to sound good on the recording anyway. Gotham Knights. You play as either Batgirl, Nightwing, Robin, or Red Hood in a co-op kind of open world RPG.
Yeah, it's online.
There's got like character building mechanics. You can play online. Looks like a lot of fun.
Batman is dead. Key feature.
Yeah, it takes place after Batman's death, and you, as like the rest of the Batman family, have to kind of take over protecting Gotham now that Batman is no longer there. It's an intriguing concept, and I like the idea that they're confident enough in the Batman characters that aren't Batman.
And it's good because it's going to push...
Because they are.
Yeah, it's going to push people who aren't Batman... It's going to push Batman's adoptive vigilante children.
Into the center stage, and they are my favorite part of Batman, quite frankly. I've always loved these characters, and it's nice to see them get a little time in the limelight. So, yeah, I'm excited for that. And then there's another game coming out. And Gotham Knights is developed by WB Games Montreal. So, I know that they've been going through some pretty stuff lately. Yeah. They've had their own Me Too kind of thing going on. Yeah. But there are some very talented people working on that game, and I would like to see what kind of work they put out. And then the new Rocksteady Batman game is not really so much a Batman game as it is a Suicide Squad game.
Because Superman is evil, again.
It seems like the premise is that Brainiac has controlled all of the Justice League.
Yeah.
And I think that this game does take place in the Arkham universe.
I would be shocked if it didn't.
But it's the Arkham version of the Suicide Squad. I guess not the same Suicide Squad from the Arkham movie that they did, Assault on Arkham. But whatever, that's fine. Yeah. That movie can just be non-canon. It's a movie that only 5 people saw, including me. But it's a good movie, though. If you want to watch a good movie about the Suicide Squad, it's not a bad one. But... the Suicide Squad game is called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and it states its mantra pretty much outright in its title. You are playing as the Suicide Squad, and your goal as Task Force X is to take out the Justice League, who seem to be mind-controlled by Brainiac, which is an interesting prospect. I like the idea of playing as villains. I mean, my favorite DC game still to this day is
the Lego Joker?
DC Supervillains.
Yeah.
No, yeah, DC Supervillains is a very fun game, and I love that game a lot. Lego Batman 3 or Lego DC Supervillains, both of those games are really, really fun. So, yeah, there's something to be said about playing as a bad guy, a DC bad guy, and DC are known for their great antagonists, and the Suicide Squad are a fun crew. The team for the game seems to be, at least for the moment, King Shark, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and Captain Boomerang, which I like that. It's a good team. And it seems pretty intriguing, and I guess it's coming out to kind of coincide with the new Suicide Squad movie that they announced, the one that James Gunn has directed.
Yeah.
That looks like a lot of fun, by the way. If you did not watch the trailer for The Suicide Squad, go do it. It looks awesome. It's got a massive cast of like pretty great actors in it, and if you like James Gunn, I think James Gunn's a great filmmaker, and I've stanned him for a long time, ever since Slither, which is like one of my favorite horror movies. Then you know what you're in for, and it looks like a fun time, like a 70s war movie, kind of like the old Suicide Squad comics, which felt like war comics, which I love those old Suicide Squad comics. They're so great. And even with the poster that they put out for the movie looking straight up like the first volume of the Suicide Squad trade paperbacks that I own. So, I don't know. I'm pretty intrigued. It looks like it's going to be a fun time. You got some real weirdos in there, too. Some real, like, ass-pull characters.
Do you have a Mustard Man or whatever Weasel. The hell?
Oh, Condiment
Yeah, God,
He's not in there, but they have Javelin, who is a character that I could only describe as an Olympian who became a mercenary, because what do Olympians do after they retire from athletics?
Do you think if we keep pushing Condiment King throughout episodes and we get big enough that we can make something happen?
Well,
Rob Schneider,
there is a great
hit me up.
There is a very good obscure Batman silly villain in there, and that's Polka Dot Man.
Oh God.
Do you know Polka Dot Man?
Isn't he the one who just kind of throws dots around and can create portals?
He throws polka dots. Yeah, he is in it.
That's pretty good.
And you know who he's being played by?
No.
David Dastmalchian, who, if you just look him up and you look at his face, you're like, firstly, I know this man. Secondly, oh yeah, this man is Polka Dot Man.
David
Dastmalchian.
Oh,
D-A-S.
Yeah, I got it.
T, yeah. Yeah, you know who he is, right?
That's amazing.
You know him.
Yeah,
he's Polka Dot Man. It's pretty good. He's if you watch Ant-Man, he's one of the guys in the crew. He's the one who's Eastern European.
Yeah.
And in the second Ant-Man movie, has the best line of the movie when he freaks out when the character Ghost materializes through the wall into the room, and he goes Baba Yaga, and he freaks the fuck out.
He's apparently also in the Dark Knight. He's also in Blade Runner, which is where I recognize
He's the guy in the
from.
Dark Knight that the Joker tortures.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's also in Blade Runner, which is kind of where his face clicks for me.
Yeah, he's a great actor. He's a great character actor, and he's in a lot of great stuff.
He's in Bird Box.
He's also in an episode of the CW.
Oh my God,
Flash
that's also
show.
where I know him from.
Yeah, he is in Bird Box. That's true. One of the better actors in that movie.
Not hard to beat.
No, low bar. But that movie looks like a lot of fun. So I guess that's pretty much the news for this week. It wasn't a big news week.
Just gonna real quick say, fuck you, FGC salt posting on Facebook. That's it. Check Twitter for more on that.
Yeah, there we go. They're motherfuckers. And yeah, you think they're salt posting? Yeah, they are salt posting. They're just salty and cynical assholes.
Insult.
But I guess thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of GamePunx. My name is Brian. You can find me on all my social media at Nouveau Art Punk, Nouveau Art Punk, all one word. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I mostly just tweet. If you want to hit me up on Letterboxd, you can read my movie reviews. I wrote a little bit about The King of Staten Island, which we talked about earlier in the episode, and also about Speed Racer, which is a movie that I rewatched recently and still to this day will stand forever because I love the Wachowskis and I love me some Speed Racer.
He's going over that cliff.
I need to put that clip in at the end of the episode. But thank you very much, and And Ben, how about you? Where can everybody find you on the internet?
Yeah, I'm Ben. I do the streams over at twitch.tv/scratchmesilly, all one word. Mondays I stream Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. Wednesdays I stream Them's Fighting Herds, and Fridays I stream Dragon Ball Fighters against my better judgment. Those
against your better judgment and playing against that game's shitty netcode.
Yeah. And inability to find matches sometimes. Last stream was rough. Anyway, main thing is, sometimes that's subject to change. I usually announce on Twitter if it's going to be something different. But if not, it's that. It usually starts around 8:30. Tonight's probably going to start a little bit later since we're wrapping this up at 8:10 right now. And I want to shower and take it easy a little bit before I kick up a stream. But yeah, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are my stream days. All starting around 8:30, except on Friday I will always start around 10 because I have my daughter for a time. I'm Scratch Me Silly, all one word, pretty much everywhere. If the little box won't let you type out fully Scratch Me Silly, just pretend you did and enter, and that'll probably be it. My brand has been set since, I want to say Sec 1.
Damn.
I've been using Scratch Me Silly for many years, and I feel like I've secured it. I think there was only one time where I went to use it, and it was already taken, and I was like, what? But I think it might have been me who forgot my account existed. That's what I think maybe happened.
That's funny.
But yeah, I like fighting games. That's the main thing.
So yeah, thank you very much for listening to GamePunx. You can hit us up on social media. If you want an MP3 download for all of our episodes, you can just hit the fresh and new, very convenient link tree that I made. It's usually the thing linked in all of the bios for every piece of social media we're on. You can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Facebook, and you can find us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube to subscribe and hear new episodes as they come out. And tell your friends about us. Take it easy, and thank you very much. Have yourselves a good evening.
Have a good night, everyone.